Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Baruch Hashem. Good morning, Kevin. I didn't see, I forgot that's you. Makes sense.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Speak up, Machaya. Gan Eden, I envy you.
We're gonna do an experiment here. All right.
It's good. Speak, it's good. So Machaya. Corona, Machaya. All right. Ajax. All right. Sehr gut. Wow, today's daf is mamish amazing. Wow. Here we go. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos daf ayin. We're going to start by explaining the third case in the Mishnah of Klal Gadol. Let us just chazer the words that we are using. We're going to now contrast the second case in the Mishnah versus the third case. Second case in the Mishnah, a person who knows Hilchas Shabbos, but he forgot that today is Shabbos, right? That's called Shigig Shabbos. He doesn't know that today is Shabbos. But Uzudain Melachis, he knows that on Shabbos you can't do A, you can't do B, you can't do C. He's doing it because the Shgog is in Shabbos. That's the second case in the Mishnah. And on that, the Mishnah says, for every Shabbos, even though he violated B'Shogeg, many melachos, he only has to bring one chatos. Third case in the Mishnah is, he knows today is Shabbos. Zodain Shabbos, not Zodain as a sin. He knows. What does he not know? He does not know Hilchas Shabbos, some of Hilchas Shabbos, and therefore he violated various malachas. So that's the third case in the Mishnah, that for that, you have to bring for every violation of an Av, a separate chatos. If a person violated 3 avos, he brings 3 chatos. And really, we're going to start, the Gemara is going to ask, why is it that for various avos violations you bring for each a separate chatos? Why don't we say, it says in the Seres Hadis, for example, loy sasa kol malacha, 1 lav. So just like when a person who eats various kizesim of chaylev, as long as it is behela machas, there is no yidiyah bentayim, he only has to bring 1 chatos. Why don't we say that Shabbos is 1 lav? That Hashem says, don't do work, how the Torah defines work. So we're going to have actually various sources from where we learn that every Av, every melacha is considered a distinct lav, which is why if the Zadoin is in Shabbos, but the Shgaga is in the melachas, you bring for every Av a separate chatos. We will also learn beautiful application of the 8th midah from the Yud Gimel midah that most of us, at least, or all of us should say, Rabbi Shmuel Aimer, the 8th midah is that kol davar shehoyev achlo. The yotza melaklo l'lamed loy l'lamed alatzma yotza. Ela l'lamed alaklo kula yotza. We're going to explain what that means, and we're going to right away apply it. Actually, has to be the source for this third case of the Mishnah. And we're going to have other beautiful concepts that, for example, if a person only executed part of one's intention. L'mashal, a person intends on Shabbos because they're shoygig. They don't know, or they forgot now that you may not write on Shabbos. And they had in mind to write the name Shimon. And they didn't execute what they intended. They didn't write Shimon. They only wrote part of the name. They wrote the first two letters. What's the first two letters of Shimon? Shin, Mem. Shin, Mem, shame is a name for itself. Shame actually means a name. So they're going to be Chai Vachatos, even though they plan to write Shimon. We're going to have a source for that. And finally, we're going to have an extremely creative case, which will ultimately lead us into a machlekes between Rava and Abaya, when a person both on the same Shabbos began with Shigig Shabbos Zudain Malachos, and the person did two Malachos. Then, as we'll explain this case, on the same Shabbos, without becoming aware that the person sinned, person became aware that it's Shabbos. The person now, B'Zudain Shabbos, does the same two Malachos with Shigigas Malachim. We'll explain this a Gavaldic case, and we're going to have a concept called Gereira, drawing along a single Gereira, a double Gereira. It's mamish going to be like Yehuda Ma'isa'ira. Let us start where we left off. Again, we left off mamish at the end of Daf Samach Tesamid Beis, when the Gemara is referring back to the Mishnah. Right, this is the third case in the Mishnah. I'm reading inside Hayodei Yashuhu Shabbos. That's called Zudoin Shabbos, the third case. Elama, there was Shigigas Malachos. So the Mishnah writes, Bazoi. Now, when you discover what malachos you violated, for every malacha, every av, you bring a separate chatos. Says the Gemara, Daf Ayin, top of the Amid, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Malachim Shakolim Midvari. Mishnah Reisha, guys, the Reisha is the second case in the Mishnah, all right? But it's the Reisha when we compare it to the third case. The Reisha's case is, again, Shigig Shabbos. That means that the person's mistake is he doesn't know that today is Shabbos. He knows all Hilchah Shabbos. He was Chodesh, he was Zereya, he was Mavashal, he was Kaisef. He knew you can't do it. So doing malachis means he knows that this may not be done on Shabbos, but his shgaga was he doesn't know is Shabbos. Why is it that over there, as we explained, when it comes aware, Gaval today is Shabbos, even though he violated many different malachis, he only has to bring one katas, haka for each Shabbos, but let's focus on one Shabbos. Umayshna Seifa, which is the third case in the Mishnah, that when it was doing Shabbos, if the shgaga was in various malachis, when he becomes aware that he violated various malachos, he has to bring a chatos for each and every for each and every malacha. Why is that? What's the logical difference? So we're going to have two beautiful approaches. Listen to the nuance over here. Omar Ab Safra, Khan, the Reisha, like the middle case of the Mishnah, Midia Shabbos Upoidish. The person is doing work on Shabbos. He knows he can't do that on Shabbos. He doesn't know today is Shabbos. When is a person chayiv chatos? Guys, not because of what are you chayiv chatos. You're chayiv chatos because of violating the ratzon of Hashem. But when are you chayiv chatos? While you don't even know that you sinned, it sounds from this approach, you're not chayiv yet. What brings about, let's say, the chalois chiyuv chatos? Your awareness. So now, in the Reisha, in the middle case of the Mishnah, what stopped you from sinning? At what moment do you know, I sinned? When you were notified whatever you were lacking. What were you notified? What did you become aware of? What does this person need to know? The person who knows that you can do all of the avos, all of the toldos, the person knows Hilchah Shabbos, he just doesn't know Hayom Shabbos. So what knowledge brings about this person stopping to do malachis? Miyadiyah Shabbos u'Peidish. So what did you have to let him know? Not many malachis. You only let him know one thing. Today is Shabbos. That one knowledge is what made him stop. That one knowledge is what brings about him, I have to bring a korban. So since it's only one piece of info that brings about the chiyuv of chatos, so you have to bring only one chatos. Beautiful. Khan, in the third case in the Mishnah, this guy knows today is Shabbos. He doesn't know Hilchah Shabbos. So let's give you, the person is planting and the person is cooking. Person is doing both. For this person to stop, what do you have to let the person know? Not one piece of information. You have to let him know two pieces of information. Aleph, you can't plant. Beis, you can't cook. Oh, so his knowing of two things is what's going to make him stop. So since there are two new awarenesses that he has to connect with, so for every awareness, he brings a separate chatas. How gewaltig is that? The third case, midias malachis upairish. And again, this person didn't know yet you can't do various malachis. So letting go, you can't plant on Shabbos. For that, he'll only stop planting. What's going to make him stop cooking? When you let him know another piece of info, you can't cook on Shabbos. So he has to know something else. For every new yediyah, you bring a chatas. Isn't that great? In other words, you bring a chatas not for the sin. It's really you bring the chatas because now you became aware. So how many new awarenesses do you need to have? For every awareness, a chatas. Again, in the middle case of the Mishnah, he knows Hilchas Shabbos. There's only one thing he didn't know, that today is Shabbos. For one awareness, one carbon. For various awarenesses, for various ideas, various chatos. So says Rav Safra. Omar le Rav Nachman. Don't tell me that he brings a chatos. It's triggered, so to say, by the awareness. No. Okay, let's go with that. So you tell him in the middle case that, today is Shabbos. But why does he stop to do the various things that he's doing? Because now that he knows that Shabbos, he knows that on Shabbos I can't plant. On Shabbos I can't cook. Those details is what's stopping him from doing the planting and doing the cooking. Klum punish me Shabbos, just hearing today is Shabbos is not stopping him doing what he's doing. If he's doing nothing, if he's davening and learning Hasidus, he's not going to stop that. What should he's knowing that it's Shabbos, but why did he stop? Because of the malachos, and he's doing various malachos. And likewise in the reverse, the kum parashmi malachos in the third case of the Mishnah. You tell the Yid, you can't cook on Shabbos. Why did he stop? Not only because he knows this new information that you can't cook, he also is stopping because today is Shabbos, Ela Mishum Shabbos. So if you want to argue that the Yediyah is what's machayif in the karban chatos, or that brings about the chalois chiyuv chatos, even though the piece of info that you have to share with him, true, Reish and Seifa is different. In the Reish, you're just telling him today is Shabbos. In the Seifa, you're just telling him this malacha is also on Shabbos. Nevertheless, in his mind, that knowledge in itself is not making him be pleidish memalacha. He's putting that together with other pieces of knowledge. So if it is the knowledge that brings about the chalois of the chiyuv, there's many pieces of knowledge. Even in the Reisha, he also knows when you tell him today is Shabbos, together with him knowing you can plant, with his knowing he can cook is why he stops. So therefore, Elo Amar Rav Nachman, and we spoke out to Rav Nachman when we learned the Mishnah, it's not about, the chatos doesn't come about from based on what he knows. It's not about what he's knowing now. It's about how many mistakes did he make. What was his mistake? Carbon, the chayiv rachmana. Why did you bring the carbon? Not from when are you mechoyev to bring it. No. That's called when is the chiyuv chal. No. But why are you bringing a carbon? Because of your sin. Now, don't forget, if you sinned b'mezid, you would not have to bring a carbon. It's because of your shoygeg sin. The shgaga is that which brings up, which triggers the chiyuv chatas, ashgaga. So let's see how many shgagos did you have in the Reisha, right in the middle case, in the middle klal of the Mishnah. What did he not know? What was his mistake? He had one mistake. He thought today is Tuesday or whatever. He didn't know today is Shabbos. So there was one mistake. So for one mistake, you bring about one carbon, even though that one mistake led you to violate many malachis. But over here in the Seifa, which is what we're beginning today with, the third case in the Mishnah, you know today is Shabbos. You didn't know you can't plant. You also did not know you can't cook. Whatever it is that this Yid didn't know. For every mistake, you bring a separate chatos. In other words, that's the moedik machloikes. Rav Safra and Rav Nachman, are you bringing the chatos for that which you know now, or do you bring the chatos for the mistake that you made? Now, Chavra, let's remember Shittas Rav Nachman because it's going to help us better understand another Rav Nachman that, God willing, we're going to learn today on Ayin Amid Beis. Okay. So now that we explained why the Seifa is Machayev you for Al-Kol, Malacha, so now we have to take a step back. I know that there are 39 Malachas, but Hashem included them all in one lav. Like, for example, in the Parshas Yisroi, Loisasa, Kol Malacha. Kol Malacha means all the 39, but it's written as one, thou shall not do. And like we said, if a person, because he or she doesn't know you can't eat chaylev, the person didn't eat chaylev once, they ate chaylev many times, or they ate chaylev from different animals, or they ate different pieces of chaylev. We don't consider each one a separate lav. It's true, this is chaylev from a from an ox, and that's a chaylev from a lamb. This is this part of the chaylev, and that's that part of the chaylev. Doesn't matter. Since the Torah prohibited all types from the same lav, it's only one lav. And if there wasn't a Yediyah ben Tayim, you only chayav one chatos. So why is it? True, I made many mistakes. I violated, God forbid, b'shoigeg, all the lamates malachis, but I didn't know them. And they are all included in loy sasa kol malacha. So chayav al kol malacha, so the Gemara's question is, chiluk malachis min olam. That's what chiluk malachis. From where do we know that each malacha, meaning each av, is a separate category? Oh. So Amar Shmuel, this is such a Gemara. Shmuel's an Amoida. Now this was really addressed by Tanoim, and we're going to have to understand why Shmuel rejected their explanation. Shmuel gives his explanation. Amar Kra, and he's quoting a pasuk in Parshas Ki Sisa. It's interesting, parenthetically, that when the Torah records Hashem's commandment to Moshe regarding us building the Mishkan, Truma Tetzava, and some of Ki Sisa, at the end of the Tzivoy from Hashem to Moshe, there's a parsha of Shabbos. And that's the pasuk here. It says, Mechalaleha Moshe Yumas. Just to know that when Moshe Rabbeinu gave over all of that to the Bnei Yisrael, right, to us, to our grandparents, in Pashas Vayakol Pekudei, it also brings about Shabbos together with the mitzvah of what we call Melechas HaMishkan, building the Mishkan, but there Shabbos comes first. But we're going to be using psukim from all over the place, from Ki Sisa and from Vayakol. So this is from Ki Sisa. The issue here is, Mois Yumas means literally, dying he shall die. And throughout Shas, sometimes we subscribe, or we ascribe to the Shita that Dibra Torah Kaloshan B'nei Adam, so we don't learn from the duality, from the doubling of the lashon, but many times we do. No, why does it say Mois Yumas? Like Yumas, you can't die twice. So you mechalal one Shabbos, all right? And on that, you're going to be chayiv many misos. What does many misos means? We'll see in a moment. You can't die more than once, but losing money is also called a partial death. For every chatos, you have to put out of your own pocket. So you can be one chilul, meaning you can be mechalal one Shabbos, but you violated many malachos. For each one, you have to go out of pocket. So the Gemara says, hold on, you are applying this pasuk to the shoygig. This pasuk mechalalel mois yumas is b'mezid ksiv. So here the Gemara responds, and that Shmuel, which is quite amazing, a limud which perhaps is the hardest limud for us to get familiar with, because it sounds L'mayla mahaseichel. It's like a choik. There's a limud called the me'enoi inyan teneo le'inyan. Remember that. If a pasuk cannot be used in its context, then apply it to another context. I mean, there has to be some similarity, because you think about it. Shmuel is making this limud. You can't apply it for the mezid. You know why? Because the whole thing is superfluous. Why is that? Because it says kol ha'oiseh boy malacha yumas. He's jumping ahead to Parshas Vayakel. It already says that if you violate Shabbos, mezid, God forbid, then you must. So since you can't apply to mezid, and now that it's for shoygig, now we understand what does mois yumas means. You have to be penalized financially various times. Why is that called dying? Because you lose some of your finances. Actually, we know that ani chashuv kameis. We're not saying that you're buying a chatas, you're becoming an ani, but here we're making that type of drasha. So you see that yumas from one Shabbos, sometimes I have to bring more than one chatas. That is Shmuel's limud. And again, like we mentioned, we have limudim from other tanoim, and let's understand why didn't Shmuel quote them? Check the Gemara, or let them just say their name. The Tepuklei, why don't we learn the din of chiluk milaches from the same place that we know explicitly that the Tanach Rab Nassim learned it from the Tanya? It says in Vayakel, in this parsha that we just quoted, Near the Torah, aside of saying kol ha'oisa by malacha yumas, the Torah specifies loisavaru eish b'chol ma'ashrei sechem. There is a explicit love of not creating, not kindling fire, right, on Shabbos. And in other words, when it says in Aseres Adibros Lo Yisase Kol Melacha, we know from oral tradition that it includes all the 39, which includes not kindling. Answers the Gemara, answers Rab Nosson, Fish and Amar, Vayakol Moshe's Kol Adas Bnei Yisrael. And it says, Eila Hadvarim. Then the next pasuk says, Sheishis Yamim Kei Yasim Melacha, that on 6 days work should be done. That's in the passive, that's the whole Sikh of the Rebbe. And in order for a yid to taka be able to really rest on Shabbos, in Vayakal it says Shabbos Shabbosain, is that our approach towards making a livelihood during the week is not that I am doing the work. Of course we have to work, but it's the Eibishter is giving the bracha. We right away acknowledge that our work is happening. In other words, our minds is in davening and learning. Our hands are doing what it needs to do, right? And then God brings about the blessing. So it's an attitude of work, which to begin with doesn't have us overly involved, which thus allows us to properly rest on Shabbos. So, and now the Gemara makes a limit. Devarim, things is plural, right? What's the minimum of plural? 2. The Torah could have written Devarim. When it says Hadvarim, he's alamudim, so the hay is extra. So instead of Devarim only representing 2, Hadvarim is 3. Eile is Bigamatria 36. How much is 36 and 3 from Devarim Hadvarim? 39. Here you go. Devarim Hadvarim Eila Hadvarim. That's a remez that Elu Shloisha Metesha Malachos Shenemru L'Moshe Messina. Okay, so that's a remez. Now the Braisa continues. Yachol Ason Kulam Elam Echad. So you might think, since they are all included, like we mentioned in the lav of the Aseres Adibros, in the lav over here, right? Shabbos you should rest, don't do work. Ein Echai V'La'achas. So Talmud Loimar. So now we're going to a pasuk in Kisisa. The pasuk there reads, Sheishes Yomim Ta'avoid Uvayoim Hashvi'i Tishbois. And then the pasuk continues, Bechadish Ubekatzir, from plowing and from reaping grain, you should rest. And the emesis, we know Chitas, there's a machlekes Tanoim, what this seif of the pasuk is referring to. Others learn that the seif of the pasuk is Bechlal not speaking about Shabbos, it's speaking about certain work, Erev Shemitah here. We're not going with that. We are going to learn that the Chadash Ubekatzir Tishbois is a specific of Shabbos. There's a general, Sheshes Yamim Taved, Uvayom Ashvi Tishbois. Tishbois means rest from all the 39, and then God specifies these 2. You may not sow and you may not reap. Oh, so what do we see from over here? That these 2 are like separate lavim. So if a person violates Bishoige, he'll be chayv 2 chatois, but that's only for these 2. But okay, Torah specifies these 2. So only on Chadisha and on Ketzira, if a person did them both, B'zudoin Shabbos u'b'shigigas melachos, that is chayv shtayim, but val kulam ein chayv elachas. But on all the remainder, again, if you did many different avos behelam echad b'shoigeg, you should be chayv only 1. So now Talmud Loimer, that's when Vayakal again Hashem specified one of the 39, Leisivaru Eish, and Havara B'chlal Hoisa, like we spoke out. Havara was part of the 39, and of the 39 are merumas here in Vayakal with Dvarim, Hadvarim, Eila Hadvarim. So why did Hashem speak this one out? This is the 8th midah of the Yud Gimel midah. That's Davar Shahaya B'chlal. Hashem wouldn't have said don't kindle a fire. It's already included in don't do work. The Yotzim and Aklo, and Hashem speaks it out, calls it out. It's to teach you something. But the rule is loy lamed al atzma yotza. It's not only to tell you something about kindling. No, ella al klo kula yotza. So sevaru eish is just like a separate love. That's to teach you that every av is a separate av. Every av is a separate love. For every av you chayv a separate chatos. And therefore, because Hashem specifies it, if it is in the category of an av, any other of the, let's say the 38 or any other of the 36, because we already have a Chadash Ubekatzir, all of this is Rabbi Nosson Atana. So why didn't Shmuel say that? That's the 8th midah. So the Gemara says, I'll tell you why. Because Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yossi, another Tana, Rabbi Yossi in the Mukayimai, that argues with Rav Nassan, that doesn't understand, doesn't learn Pshat, that in Vayakal, where it says, Lo Yisavaru Eish V'choma Shreisechem, it's only calling out, kindling, to tell you that there's a separate chatas for it, and thus for all the others. No, it's Lalav Yatzos. Wow, what does Lalav Yatzos means? This is Rabbi Yossi. That for all the other 38 malachas, if a person violates them, b'mezid, God forbid, so b'hasra, u'be'edim, b'chulei, skila. Even if he didn't have all the preconditions for skila, yechayiv kares. For kindling a fire, you're not chayiv kares. You're taka chayiv alav. You violated the lav, which means in punishment-wise, you'll get malchus, but it's a lesser of a prohibition. That's called lelav yatzos. Hashem spoke out, don't kindle a fire, to be stam alav, and not alav with kares with skill. Now, if you learn that loisivaru eish is lelav yatzos, you can't use that v'yatzim and aklal lelamed loylamed alav yatzos. No, it's a separate din. It's a din dafka for kindling fire. It's not the teacher for anything else. It's not for chatos. The time as we learned, havara lelav yatzos divrei Rabbi Yossi. It's only Rav Nassan that says lachalik yatzos. So since Shmuel doesn't learn like Rav Nassan, he learns like Rabbi Yossi, he couldn't have quoted Rav Nassan's source of chiluk melachis. Now the Gemara says we're not done yet. The tepuklei lechiluk melachis meichad and Rabbi Yossi. You said very nice. Taka Rabbi Yossi argues with Rav Nassan. Don't think that Rabbi Yossi himself never addressed chiluk melachis. He did. So make up your mind, Shmuel. If you don't know like Rav Nassan, so quote the source of Rabbi Yossi. And what's the source of Rabbi Yossi? The Tanya. Rabbi Yossi oimer. So Rashi says that this pasuk that Rabbi Yossi is quoting, Vayikra Daled, is the opening of all of the parsha of Chatois in Vayikra. Like we mentioned, there's the Kohen Gadol that sins b'shoigig, then there's the Nasi Yachta, then there's Me'am Haaretz. The Torah begins Nefesh Kisechta b'shgaga. So you say, Mikol mitzvahs Hashem asher lo yisei osena. And what happened? And it says, Va'asa me'achas me'heina. Va'asa me'achas me'heina. So Rashi says, the first and second line under the Gemara, that Rabbi Yossi's diuk is coming from the fact that it could have said, Va'asa achas. And he did one of what God said not to do. Achas. So what is now superfluous? The mem of me'achas and the whole word mehena. So I'm reading inside the second line in Rashi. The lishtoik, v'asa achas is enough. Ubamela ayaterle she'eris mem the me'achas and v'chol tevas mehena. And on that says Rabbi Yossi, pa'amim, that's to teach you. Don't forget, guys, achas means one. Hena means them. Singular, plural. Pa'amim shechayavim achas al kulam. Sometimes you can violate many avos and you chayiv only achas. That will be, guys, the second klal on the Mishnah, right? When you have a shigigas Shabbos who's a doin melachas, and opamim, now that's the third case. That's chilik melachas. That you're chayiv al kol achas va'achas. For every single one, you're chayiv another carbon chatos. That's Rabbi Yossi's limud. Now, Rabbi Yossi's limud, as is not enough. It has to be further explained. Because really, that's the way Rashi learns the Gemara now. Amar Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Chanina is an Amayra that's clarifying and really adding a lot in between the lines. And the way Rashi learns, he says that Rabbi Yossi can't just get away by giving you the achas, sometimes one, sometimes many, because really what is extra here isn't only the way we learned in Rashi, the mem of me'achas and the word mehena. No, Rabbi Yossi but Rabbi Chanina is bothered that if that would be the only limud of the Tana Rabbi Yossi, then the Torah could have written va'asa achas heina. Achas, it, one, heina, them, plural, you have one and plural, sometimes one, sometimes many. Achas heina would have been enough. So really, there's still two letters extra, the mem of the me'achas and the mem of the meheina. And because of that, he says that it must be that there are two other limudim that Rabbi Yossi learns. Let's read it inside. My comment that Rabbi Yossi, we explained it, it's not enough just to learn from the mem of the me'achas and the whole word mehena. No, that which he quoted could have been learned from achas heina. So it's weiter ayatanale mem and mem. There's achas me'achas. That's part of the problem. The Torah could have written achas. Why me'achas? The Torah could have written just heina, achas heina. What's the me'heina? Oh, so that's the teacher. That is what he's learning. Achas shu eino, heina shu achas. This we already explained. But then he's saying there are two other lamudim. What are the two other lamudim? Achas shimoin. If the Torah would have written just achas, we would have learned that if a person intended to write the name Shimon, when would he be chayiv? Whether it is, God forbid, b'mezid, kadis, or b'shoigig, achatos, when he executed his intent. Don't forget that by Shabbos, you have to have malachas machshavas. He had a mind to write Shimon. Only when he finishes the name Shimon is he chayiv. What happens if he wrote part of the name? You might have thought he's not chayiv achatos yet. Even though part of the name Shimon, the first two letters, Shin and Mem, is a name for itself. Actually, it means a name. So the Meyachas, the Mem of Meyachas is to tell you, Meyachas, Taf Ayin Amid Beis, even if you only executed part of your intent, that means you only wrote shame from your original plan of writing Shimon, already when you wrote that, you're chayiv. You're chayiv even though you did Meyachas, you did from one, some of the one. Weiter, heina meheina, heina avos, meheina toldos. That's another source. We never addressed this yet, even though we mentioned it b'kitzur, that unlike, for example, when it comes to the toldos that we have in the laws of taking an oath, there the isur is midrabanan, right? That was the toises that we spoke out in the beginning of the Perek, obvious and toldos. I'm sorry, toldos by the Hilchah Shvi'is is midrabanan. Toldos by Shabbos is also midoiraisa. How do you know it? From the mem of mehena, heina avos, mehena toldos, and then weiter achas she heina, which is the case of Zdain Shabbos Shigas Malachos. Heina she achas Shigas Shabbos Uzudain Malachos. So that is all the limud of Rabbi Yossi, the Tanach Rabbi Yossi, from where he learns. That's the achas she heina Zdain Shabbos. The Shigas Malachos, you're chayv many chatois. So Rabbi Yossi has the source. So why didn't Shmuel call to Rabbi Yossi? So the Gemara says, Shmuel, this is a big chiddush. You're not going to find this often. Shmuel is not accepting this whole limud. He says, Achas she'ena, ve'ena she'achas, loy mashmalei. It's not mashma to him. He does accept the other two limudim. Shmuel accepts that which Rabbi Yossi taught, that achas me'achas, that if you only wrote shame from Shimon, you're chayv achatos. Shmuel accepts from Rabbi Yossi, heina, meheina, that will be the source, that a violation of a tulda is a biblical violation, for which you chayv skila, God forbid, for which you chayv achatos. But he rejects this limud of achas she'ena achas, like Tosfos writes in the second Tosfos, Shmuel's an Amayra. Shmuel, the loiker Rab Nassan or the loiker Rabbi Yossi, the Tanach loimer, the mekabala kim le Shmuel hacha. No, he has to have his Rebbe taught him, don't learn that. So Shmuel says, I'm not accepting that limud. So indeed, if Shmuel doesn't hold to the limud of Rab Nassan, because he holds the pshat that Havara is lelav yatzis, like Rabbi Yossi. He rejected here. His Rebbe told him, and Yasa Kabbalah, that that's not the meaning of achas mehena. It's only the part of Rabbi Yossi but Rab Chanina that he accepts. The rest he doesn't accept. So Shmuel remained without a limud. So therefore, Shmuel gave, like we said, the mois yumas imeina inyan teneula inyan. For every av, you're liable to another death penalty, meaning you're going to have to lose another few dollars. You're going to have to bring another carbon. Okay, so now really we had three sources: Rab Nassan, Rabbi Yossi, and now Shmuel. Okay, now we're going to get very creative. We're going to learn two sugyas. Wow, let's start. Boyim inei Rava from Rav Nachman. Just reminding the Oilem that Rav Nachman, that's what we started out today with, he challenged Rav Safra's understanding of our Mishnah, explaining the reason, the difference between the Reish and the Seifa. Rav Nachman's words were that why are you chayav a carbon? Because of the shoygig aspect, because of the mistake aspect. To remember that. So now asks the Gemara, asks Rav Nachman, what were to happen if Helam zeh vizeh biyodoi? All right, a person Sai did not know, he didn't know, he had lapse of awareness that today is Shabbos. On top of that, he, as of yet, doesn't know a couple of the malachis. Means even if he would have known that it's Shabbos, he still would have done this and done that. Notice he violated two avos, just for example, but a shoygig was both he didn't know it's Shabbos and that he didn't know that these malachas are also on Shabbos. Now that he's made aware, Rabbi Yid, hein to Shabbos. Rabbi Yid, you can't plant. You cannot cook. You did both. Oh, he stops. So now the question is, does this fall into the second case of the Mishnah or does this fall into the third case of the Mishnah? That's a great question. In other words, there was a Shigig Shabbos here. Kitaka didn't know that it's Shabbos. And there was also a Shigig Malachis. So Amalei responds Rav Nachman, Harei Helem Shabbos Biyadoi, since there is a lapse of awareness that it's Shabbos, so therefore, the Ein Chayev Ela Achas. You only chayiv one, and I'm going to use the words of Tosfos, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tosfos, Divrei HaMaschil Amalei Harei Helem Shabbos Biyadoi, the fourth Tosfos. I'm reading towards the end of the Tosfos, explaining why does Rav Nachman answering, what's the logic of Rav Nachman? Bishum de Kosovar, this is the last two lines in the Tosfos, because Rav Nachman holds, Shigigas Shabbos Iker. The Iker HaMitzvah hi Mishum Shabbos. Wow. Malachis are at the end of the day details in Shmira Shabbos. Shabbos is still the Iker. It's Shabbos. He didn't even know it's Shabbos. So that lapse of awareness is the Iker mistake that he made. Even though he also didn't know the detail of Malachis. And therefore he's being lenient. He's saying that now that he becomes aware both that it's Shabbos and that these activities are prohibited, he's chayv only one. The Gemara challenges Rav Nachman, but we're going to say that Rav Nachman's answer stands. Adarabba, why do you say that? Harei Helem Malachis Biyadoi. In other words, we don't accept that the words of Tosfos that Shigigas Shabbos Iker. Why? Even if he would know that it's Shabbos, he didn't yet know you can't do this, you can't do that. He also didn't know the malachis. And therefore, when the rule in the Mishnah, the third rule in the Mishnah is that if you have a hell of malachis, you chayv kol achas v'achas. Okay. Or the Ritva words the question like this. He says that it can be that the greater the mistake, right? A person, so to say, is benefiting, he's gaining because he made more mistakes. Even though you can argue, why not? The more mistakes he made, the more innocent he is. But the Ritva says that's the Gemara's kash. So Elomar Ravashi says Ravashi. Rashi says it depends. Let's see, why did he stop doing what he was doing? This is a yid. He didn't know it's Shabbos and he didn't know you can't cook. What is it, when you told him, what did you tell them that made him stop? This, guys, in my understanding, is linked to Rav Safra's answer, which was the first answer we had in the beginning of today's share. It's the idea, it's what your awareness. So Ravashi says like this, that, let me find, I lost the place inside. It's not good to lose the place. Oh, Ravashi Chazina. Mishum Shabbos Koparish. When this guy is cooking, when you told him today is Shabbos, that is what made him stop. So that's what made him stop. So Harei Helem Shabbos Biyadoi. And therefore, right, he was cooking and he was writing at the same time. He stopped from everything, but he stopped because you told him it's Shabbos. So ve'ein chayv ela achas, because it is, you're bringing to his awareness Shabbos is what made him be poitish. However, and we can test, the Ibish Malacha Kapadas, but if when you told him Rabbi Yid, it's Shabbos, so you needed to tell him, Rabbi Yid, oh, you can't cook. If you mentioned what he's doing, this and that and the other, and that's when he stopped. So let's see, who was the one that brought enlightenment to him? What did he tell him? If he told him Shabbos and he stopped doing many things, chayv one. If he told him this can be done and that can be done, even if he didn't mention the word Shabbos, if he was told about the malacha and he was poitish from the malacha, he's chayv for every malacha. Amalei Ravina, he rejects that. Even if the words, right, that the enlightener told this inadvertent sinner was, today is Shabbos. Why would he stop cooking? It must be because it was implied by his today is Shabbos that what you're doing cannot be done on Shabbos. He must have known that. He must have understood that from the fact that you're telling me it's Shabbos. Why are you telling me it's Shabbos? Even though it wasn't explicit, Just shouting, today is Shabbos. And he stopped doing many things. Why did he stop doing many things? Because that he understood that those activities may not be done on Shabbos. So he didn't stop just because today is Shabbos. He stopped because he became aware that this melacha may not be done on Shabbos. And likewise in reverse, if the enlightener told him, oh, you can't cook, you can't sow, you can't reap, and he stopped. What, you can't sow, you can't reap during Sunday, during Monday? Of course you could. It was implied you can't do that today. So it was also the knowledge, and at the time he didn't even know today is Shabbos. But he also became aware that it was Shabbos. Likewise, klum parish mi melachos. If he just told him this malacha cannot be done, and he stopped, is because he understood, oh, today is Shabbos. So he stopped because both. He only stops because of both pieces of knowledge. Sai, today is Shabbos, and that this activity, these activities may not be done on Shabbos. And therefore, we reject Rav Ashi's answer. So we go back to Rav Nachman's answer. Rav Nachman holds that even though you were in the beginning, you had a lapse of awareness in both the Ikir. We view the Ikir as you didn't know today is Shabbos. And since that's the Ikir, this is part of the second case of the Mishnah. Whenever there is a Shigig Shabbos, and now you become aware today is Shabbos, even though you violated many melachas, you chayiv one chatos. Frag the Gemara on Rav Nachman Tanan. Now we had the shtickle already above. We're going to have it again in a different context than in our sugya. We learned in the Mishnah Daf Ayin Gimel Avis Malachis Abayim Chasad Achas, and on that Vahavin, we asked a question in the yeshiva Minyan Olamali. The Mishnah, they don't have to give you a number. The Mishnah should go and enumerate that. You count the Mishnah, you'll see the 39. And on that answers Rabbi Yechanan to tell you that She'im Hason Kolam Elam Echad. That's the remes of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Yechayva Kol Achas V'Achas. Now the example that Rabbi Yechanan is giving is not Stam Chilik Malachas. Like I keep on mentioning, 2 malachas, 3 malachas. He's giving a case where you did not know any of the 39. And here we're back to the same question. If you don't know any of the 39, so the Gemara's premise is this is automatically it's Shigag Shabbos. You know it's Shabbos, but you don't know any consequence of Shabbos. So then your knowledge of Shabbos is meaningless. It's only meaningful if you at least know one of the 39. But if we are alluding even to a case that you didn't know any of the 39, and Taka Yechayv 39 Chatois, Omrat Bishleimam, Helim Zeve Yodai. You're Chayv al Kol Achas Va'achas, right? Not like Rav Nachman. Here, you didn't know anything. You didn't know. So then you didn't. You also, that's the premise. If you don't know any of the malachas, it means you don't know Shabbos. So what? You don't know what Shabbos, but neither did you know any of the 39. Zeh. And that's the case of Rabbi Yechanan. That's why Rabbeinu HaKadosh gave out the minyan. But Eli Amrat, like Rav Nachman, that if Helam Shabbos biyadoi, even though you also did not know any of the malachas, you only chayv one. So hechem eshkachas lo zudoin Shabbos v'shigigas malachas. Like we mentioned, if you don't know any of the 39, how can you call that zudoin Shabbos? What does Shabbos mean aside of the word Shabbos? It must mean, for it to be meaningful, you know that something is prohibited. Now it's interesting that we don't say, you know that there's a mitzvah of oinig Shabbos and a kavod Shabbos. That's not enough. There has to be some knowledge of something that we may not do because it's Shabbos. Because Shabbos, kishmoi kenu, to rest, to stop, not to do. So what do you not know? Now let's go further. Let's go back to what we learned before. Rabbi Yechanan himself is good. Rabbi Yechanan l'shitasai. That he holds that the definition of a shoygig doesn't have to only be the way the Shlokir says, that you know nothing. Shoygig can even mean that a Yid knows that this may not be done on Shabbos. God said don't do it. He doesn't know that if one does it, you're chayv kares. His shoygig is in the kares. And Rabbi Yechanan, not Mumbas, Rabbi Yechanan in the Rabbanon holds that this is also called a shoygig. Then we're still good. If we're going to follow Shitas Rabbi Yechanan, even though she hizit belav, that's still called a shoygeg, but it's doing Shabbos. It's doing Shabbos because he knows you may not do the malachis, so he knows you can't do it. The other lady Shabbos belav, he never knew that there's 30, that there's kadas for each and every one. That will be the case. That is chayv 39 chatois. But if we're going to follow the approach of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, that he says shoygig meant a shoygig. Push it. You don't know. You didn't know that it's prohibited. And again, we're giving it a mashal of you did not know any of the 39 malachas. So the other lay Shabbos b'mai. How can there be a case of doing Shabbos when the sheshgoga in all the malachas? So answers the Gemara, no, that you can have ignorance in all the 39. There is another activity that we may not do, which according to Rabbi Akiva is also midah oiraisa, which is the Yodalei B'Tchumen. He knows that. He knows that you can't go beyond the Tchum. Whether Rabbi Akiva's beyond the Tchum is midah oiraisa, even the 2,000 mil, whether it's the 12,000 mil, we'll speak that out when we learn that sugya. But there is a doiraisa dika aspect that Rabbi Akiva subscribes to, and so will be the Tanach of our Mishnah, according to Rabbi Akiva. Because don't forget, if Tchumen is only midrabanan, you can't argue that you knowing that it's Shabbos refers to a derabanan. What happens before that derabanan? Very good. Okay, and now, Chevra, we're going to start the final case we will be learning today here in the Gemara, and this is so beautiful. So, Chevra, let's hold up here. It's like a puzzle. Where are we up to? Let's get familiar to words again. When it is Shigagas Shabbos, Usudain Malachos, second case of the Mishnah, and then you become aware and you violated various, then you're chayiv one. Let's go with Rav Nachman, because you made one mistake. You forgot that it's Shabbos. When you know it's Shabbos, but you did not know about this and that malacha that's asur on Shabbos, Zudoin Shabbos, the Shigigas malachos, and then you become aware you're chayiv for every one. So now let's put a case where both of these scenarios happened. Amar Rava. And we're going to give, thank God, just to keep it at least relatively simpler, instead of speaking about 10 violations, 2 violations. Kotzar v'tachem. The case that we're giving, one is really one after the other. It flows. It happens b'metzias. Kotzar means, again, when you harvest or when you reap. Really, this word is used when you reap grains. The emes is that whatever you detach that was prior attached to the ground is included in the av of ktsira. But let's go kotzar. You reaped. And then what happens normally after you reap? Then at the point you grind up, right, the kernels. 2 separate malachis. Kotzar v'tachan, another detail that we'll learn a lot later, when it comes to violations of Shabbos that are punishable midah oiraisa, there is a minimum amount that needed to be violated. Any violation connected to food items, all violations connected to food items are connected to the minimum amount of a groigeres, which means a dried fig. No, you did it. You violated a doiraisa violation. Kotzar v'tachem. 2 violations. When you did that, it was b'shigagasha. At that point, you did not know that it's Shabbos. You did not know that it's Shabbos. Shigagas Shabbos. And uzudain melachos. At that point, you knew that on Shabbos, you can't do ktsira and you can't do tchina. Now, if we would stop the story over here, this is mamish, the second case in the Mishnah. If the person now becomes aware, oh, it's Shabbos, what's the din? He only has to bring 1 chatas, because his shgoga was not on the malachis, his mistake was on the Shabbos. What happened? What happened is that this person, guys, remember this is very important, this in between the lines. The person became aware that today is Shabbos, but he never, when he became aware that it's Shabbos, he didn't remember, oy gewalt, I did tchina and ktsira. He didn't know that. He didn't have that awareness yet. In other words, the chi of chatos, the one chi of chatos wasn't even triggered yet. But what did happen is that a few hours later, something made him realize, oh, today is Shabbos, and this is the case, this is a hypothetical case, and this person lost some of his information knowledge. And now when he became aware that it's Shabbos, he forgot these 2 details of Hilchos Shabbos. And he did the same 2 things again. The chazar, the kotzar, the tachan, the same minimum biblical violation, which is a gregeres. Now that he did the same 2 things again, now he knew that it was Shabbos, but at this point, he forgot that you can't do ktsira and tchina. Now again, if he only would have done this latter clause, only the latter clause, so doing Shabbos, my friends, shigagas malachis, that was today's daf, that's the 3rd case in the Mishnah, he would be chayiv 2 chatois. Now the question is, how many chatois is he chayiv? Without thinking at all, let me tell you what is not the case, according to any opinion. His zicher doesn't have to bring 3 chatois. That not. Even though for the first mistake, he would have to bring 1. For the second mistake, he would have to bring 2. Well, 1 and 2 is 3. That's zicher not. But let's see what happened. He became now enlightened. But let's see what happened. The noid aloi, he became aware first. Now the seder of his awareness is of crucial importance. The noid aloi al consider betchina shall shigig Shabbos uzudain malachais. He became aware that what? That the first thing that he did, he became aware in Gewalt. A couple of hours ago, I did Ktsira, I did Tchina. When I did that, then I still knew that you can't do them on Shabbos. I wasn't in my senile moment, but I didn't know it was Shabbos. So his first awareness was for the first thing that he did wrong. So what's triggered now? 1 chatos, right? Because for Shigig Shabbos, he only made 1 mistake. He has to bring 1 chatos. So in his mind, oh, I'm designating a carbon chatos. And then his friend tells him, Rabbi Yid, that wasn't the end of your mistake. The chazar, the second to last line, the noidaloi, on the second thing that happened, which was that he did ktsir and tchin again, but when he did it again, at that time he knew it was Shabbos. But at that time, when he did it, he forgot you can't do it. He forgot that you're not allowed to do it. He had a lapse of awareness. Shigdas malachis. So you know what the din is? You know what the Rava says? Daf Ayin Aleph. He only brings 1 chatos. The 1 chatos that he designated for the first mistake, and for that you only needed to bring 1, automatically is going to patet him, is going to cover, it's going to be dragged along. It's called gereira or goireres for the next 2. Says the Gemara, look inside the top line. Ktsira goireres ktsira and tchina goireres tchina. How beautiful is that? The carbon that he designated in his mind. He designated the carbon because noidaloi for the first mistake that it was shigig Shabbos was doy melachis. That 1 carbon is coming for what? It's Sai going to cover ktsira, and it's going to bring him atonement for the mistake of tchina, even though it's only 1 carbon. So since this carbon is covering ktsira and tchina, and in between these 2 scenarios, I said he became aware that it was Shabbos, but he never became aware that he sinned. No, there wasn't a bona fide yediyah bentayim. If I made a mistake and I become aware that I made a mistake and I designate a carbon and then I forget and I make the mistake again, I got to bring another carbon. Here, there wasn't a real yediyah in between these 2 clauses. So Rava argues that you don't have to bring 3, you don't bring 2, you only bring 1. The 1 that covered the case of the Reisha automatically covers the Seifa. Because don't forget, again, the 1, when it's Shigig Shabbos and you did Tchina and Ketsira, that 1 is for Ketsira. So Ketsira, get that as Ketsira. Now you became aware that you did another act of Ketsira for which you chayv theoretically a chatos pseder. There wasn't a Yediyah Bentayim. So the 1 that you already designated will automatically cover this one. The original one didn't only cover Ketsira. The original one is going to cover Tchina. So it covers the Ketsira. However, what's the chiddush of Rava? Avol, let's go. If your awareness goes in the reverse seder, how beautiful is this? Avol noidalei al ksira. But if first your full awareness that I sinned was for the second thing that you did. Second thing, the second group of what you did. What did you do? That you did ksira and tchina. At that time, you knew it's Shabbos, but nebach, at that time you forgot some of Hilchos Shabbos. First, you became aware that you did Ketsira, Shel Zudoin Shabbos, or Shigas Malachas. Now, when you become aware of that, just that part, what are you mechoyev to bring? Just for the act of Ketsira, that is mechayev you, just that Ketsira part, 1 chatos. The chatos is to cover your sin of Ketsira. Okay. Now, the person becomes aware the first mistake that he made earlier on, when he didn't know it's Shabbos yet, and he did Ktsira and Tchina. So Rava says that the carbon that you're bringing for the Ktsira that you did with the knowledge that it's Shabbos will also do Gereira. It's going to drag along, it's going to exempt you of not only the Ktsira of the Shigig Shabbos, but even Ketsira, so first of all, Ketsira, Gereres Ketsira, and Rava says, and also Tchina, She'ima, And since this is going to be covering the first act of Katsira that was done b'Shigag HaShabbos, it will also cover the sin of Tchina that you did b'Shigag HaShabbos. Why is it covering? Why does Katsira cover Tchina? Because in the first mistake that you made, one carbon would have covered two anyway. There was Shigag HaShabbos. There was Doim Malachas. So that one carbon that covers Katsira includes in it an atonement for Katsira, for Tchina. We will allow the carbon of your second Av of Katsira, Aleph, it's going to go back, Goireres, the first act of Katsira, and included in that, will take except for it to cover the first act of Tchina. But you know what? It will not cover your second act of Tchina. Your second act of Tchina, which you did when you knew it's Shabbos, but you forgot, that is not included. But for Tchina, Shekenegna, Bimekayma, and for that you will have to bring another carbon chatos. So you're going to bring two chatos. Gewaldig. Even though we are allowing the second Katsira, not only to cover the first Katsira, but we are allowing the second Katsira to cover the first Katsira and the Tchina. That Rava says you could, because the first case, your first mistake wasn't Shabbos. Shigag HaShabbos. And we learned that's the whole shiur today, right? That when the Shigag HaShabbos, Rav Nachman, you became aware of one mistake, one carbon covers everything. So Taka, you only knew about Katsira. You're bringing a carbon for Katsira. Katsira can cover the prior Katsira. There was no Yediyah Bentayim, and includes Tchina. But to say, since it's covering the second half of Katsira, the carbon for the second half of Katsira covers the first act of Katsira. And including in that is Tchina. Once it's including Tchina, do a double Gereda. Say now, since it's including Tchina, it should cover the second Tchina. We don't say Gereda twice. Shitas Rava. Let's finish inside. Abaye disagrees. Abaye is more lenient. And he says, Omar, Tchina nami Gereda is Tchina. Since Shem Tchina achasi. So I'm putting the first case on top, the second case on the bottom. If you became aware of the top, one carbon covers the top. Since the top is Ktsira and Tchina, it covers both chatois for the bottom. There was no Yediyah Bentayim. If you first become of the mistakes of the bottom and you become aware of Ktsira, the Rava says Ktsira on the bottom covers not only Ktsira on the top, it covers both on the top because they're both one Gereda. But then we don't go back down. Abaye says, no, we say Gereda twice. Ktsira of the second sin, the carbon is going to also bring you atonement for Katsira of the first mistake. That Katsira's carbon includes in it Tchina, because it was Shigag HaShabbos. Once it's already including Tchina, now we can say Gereda again. It drags along with it, and it exempts, it brings atonement for your second act of Tchina that was done then, this done Shabbos, over Shigag HaSmalacha. Wow, to be continued.
Rabbi, so according to Abaye, bring one. Everything's one.
Go by one carbon.
Either way, whether you remember the first one or the second one, you're only bringing one. If you remember the first one, you bring one, but if you remember the second one, you end up bringing two.
Correct. Okay. No one holds three because of Gereda. The question is, do you say Gereda on top of a Gereda?
And by the way, is this always the same Shabbos, or it could be even two different Shabbos?
I think it can be in two different Shabbos. Can be in two different Shabbos. Yeah, for sure.
Actually, it's a bit strange that he would think that, okay, he doesn't remember his Shabbos, right? And then suddenly he does remember his Shabbos, but he doesn't remember that it's Usher. It's like a,
correct.
I don't really know how that happens.
Listen, guys, we're young. When we'll hit 90, we'll learn this again. It'll make sense.
Friday night, he didn't realize it was Shabbos. And then the next morning, he was like, oh, it's Shabbos. And then like...
Yeah, no, but Gabriel, but when Friday night, at that moment, he knew the Hilchos Shabbos.
Right. Suddenly he doesn't know Hilchos Shabbos.
I get that a person can become aware that it's Shabbos. But then when he knows it's Shabbos, and when he didn't know it's Shabbos, he knew that you can't do Tchina and you can't do Ktsira. And now when he knew it's Shabbos, he forgot. Yeah, sometimes people, that's, we don't know in a second. It's a process. So Bislach.
Rabbi, according to the opinion, we learned that Havara doesn't have, is not an Isser Skila or Karis, right?
Yeah.
So is it still one of the 39 Malachas according to that opinion?
Yeah. Because 39 in the context of the 39 that God said explicitly. Unlike the told us that God didn't speak about explicitly, God told Moshe Rabbeinu that anything that's doimala, you're chayev, but he didn't give it.
Could it be here we're talking about a tolda of it, and therefore by Friday night, let's say he knew of a tolda, and the next morning a different tolda of tchina.
That's not the case. Not the case. But they're both obvious. It's did he know or did he forget?
1 second. According to that opinion, does that mean that you're never chayav skila for a tolda?
Yeah. No. According to that opinion, according to that, you're not chayev skila for havara.
I understand, but you're attaching that to saying that havara is like a tolda. It's not an av.
No. Rabbi Chaim said that. No, it's not. It's zichra and av.
Okay.
What is an av? Question is it like to all the others or not? You know what we have? We have something interesting, especially if you go like with Rabbi Kiva, that b'chadash u'b'kasav tishbais doesn't refer to Shabbos. The only two malachas that God specifies that you can do befedish, l'sivaru eish, and then carrying the malacha isadayim, and they're both called the malacha kala. The malacha kala, so carrying, we explained because you don't change the article, you're just changing its location. You don't see a shinoi in it. And l'sivaru eish is called the malacha kala the way the people that are not yet frum call the malacha kala, because it's easy to do. Lighting a candle like they have with a match, it's such an easy thing to do. People are, it's like taking a car, starting your car, you press a button. That's chilul Shabbos. What malacha are you doing? So that's why God needed to say, no, don't do that. Because some people might have thought that you could. All right.
Because there's no tircha.
What's the
wonderful day?
Gabriel?
Gereres? What's the svara? Like, how do you explain why it's Gereres?
Because there is a rule that when I sin twice, I ate a kazayis chaylev and a kazayis chaylev without full yidiyah bentayim, one chatas covers everything. We don't even use the word goyreres. Here we're using the word goyreres because the shoygig was completely different. Different types of cases. It's a beautiful case. If one was shigak Shabbos de malachas, the other one was the opposite. And theoretically, you would have to bring a separate carbon, but we say goyreres. It's gewaldig.
But why?
Why not? Because the point is, since there was no yidiyah bentayim, it is the same sin. Tchina. Why would it not be goyreres? Even though what brought about the chiyuv chatos was just the knowledge of Shabbos, I get that shiga Shabbos, but still, for that you got to bring a carbon chatos. And what did I actually do? Even though my mistake wasn't Shabbos, what did I do? I did the ktsira. So we say, ktsira, and automatically tchina.
Yeah, makes sense.
So as long as your knowledge is not complete over the whole Isser, be it Shabbos, be it Malacha, as long as the Yidiyah is not complete.
Don't say that. I'm going to say what you're saying in my words. Maybe your words are better. For me, it works. Okay. As long as my knowledge didn't trigger my awareness that I have to bring a carbon. That's the key here. If I would have become aware that, today is Shabbos, and I did that and the other, and therefore I know that I have to bring a carbon, now I separated that from anything I'll do later. My knowledge never triggered about a carbon designation. That was the case of it. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to understand also like why you were saying that from Shabbos to Shabbos also. It's fine. So that's okay.
Well,
okay, thank you.
I take back my Shabbos to Shabbos. I'm going to say it online because from Shabbos to Shabbos, the way Tosfos says, the Yomim Bentayim is a Yediyah. Take back, it's not from Shabbos to Shabbos. I hope I didn't say it when I was online, when I was on the Chabad.org. It's not on the same Shabbos. If it's from Shabbos to Shabbos, this case does not exist. Okay. Because then halachically, the Yomim Bentayim is called the Yediyah Shabbos. And you're Chayv Achatos.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It comes back. Was I mechuyev chatos? So as long as I did not know enough that is mechayev miachatos, so we do connect both of these cases together when it's in the same name. Ktsira gereres ktsira, tchina gereres tchina. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.